On the broadcast with us today, I'll be talking to Jacqueline Ford from a DCF department in Hartford, Connecticut. She's primarily in charge of the Heart Gallery, letting you know that May is National Foster Care Month. Thanks for joining us on the broadcast. So tell us what has been new. I know since this COVID-19, we really haven't chatted since then.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. You've always been such a great supporter of our work. I'm actually working now in the Bureau of External Affairs. I'm doing work in the communication area of our department. And right now, I think that the message that I would love for your listeners to hear is that the Department of Children and Families is open for business, and we have been throughout this whole COVID-19 pandemic. We've had to adapt and find innovative ways to do our work because some of our workforce is telecommuting, but we are working and we are out there in the community, and we're trying our very best to provide the services that we can to keep the children and families safe and to keep those doors of communication open for our families in the community, those families that may be involved with the Department of Children and Families because of abuse or neglect issues, or those families out there that have never had involvement with our department but are having some difficulty in just coping because of all of these changes because of the pandemic. So we recently just launched a hotline number called the Talk It Out Hotline, and that is a campaign. Your listeners can visit our website, the State of Connecticut DCF, to get links to that telephone number and to be able to contact for additional support.
Yeah, I can imagine that, and we talked before we opened the mic that the children can't see their teachers or anybody, like with communication, so you kind of worry about you're concerned about how these children are being treated. So is that one of the main reasons why Talk It Out hotline was invented?
No, actually it wasn't. The Talk It Out hotline was created and it's not a DCF line. It's not manned by the Department of Children and Families. It's in collaboration with our partners in the United Way, the 211 number.
Okay.
And there's trained professionals that will take that call and hear what the parents or the caretakers' issues are. And if it can't be resolved in that telephone call, then they'll be referred for services.
Okay. Have they gotten a lot of calls already from that number?
They have. They've gotten telephone calls, and those who call can also be anonymous if they so wish to be. And it's just, it's a hotline with caring, supportive, trained individuals who can talk to that person. And we're finding, that many of our parents in our communities are feeling the same way. They're just feeling exhausted by the changes in the norm that we've been facing. And we want families to know that before it becomes something that is very difficult or painful, something that is very dangerous, you have someone that you can call to talk it out. And that's why the hotline is called the Talk It Out line. Your listeners can contact that number by dialing 1-833-258-5011. And there's, like I said, it's open during the week. It's open on weekends and holidays as well. So that wasn't developed for that, but we want the listeners to realize and understand that if they do suspect abuse or neglect in their communities, whether it is a mandated reporter, teacher, doctor, or if it's just a neighbor who is suspecting something's going on, we are open and we are available, and they can give our hotline, our child abuse and neglect hotline, a call and make those concerns known.
Okay. Well, if you're tuning in right now, I'm speaking to Jacqueline Ford. She's one of the head recruiters for DCF. I know you've been there plus 20 years for DCF, but you're really in charge of the Heart Gallery. So listeners who are tuned in, we know that May is National Foster Care Month. And if somebody is intrigued or, interested in fostering or even adopting.
Sure. If anyone, it is Foster Care Awareness Month, and it's a great opportunity for us to shed a light on the incredible work that our foster parents are doing and what they're doing through this pandemic as well, and the foster families that are taking placements and taking care of children. So I want to thank all of them and celebrate them. We do have virtual open houses that are happening. The Kid Hero line, 1-888-KID HERO, is still accepting calls of anyone who's interested in learning more about foster care and adoption. The Heart Gallery is on our website, which is CT Foster Adopt, and we have a listing of all of the children and their faces and their stories of who needs a forever home. So your listeners are, welcome to visit CT Foster Adopt, or they can call Kid Hero.
And I also know this past April had something significant to do with children and also involved animals. Why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. It'd be an honor to do so. So in April, we celebrate Child Abuse Prevention Month. So it's just a month of awareness of making people aware of the signs and the symptoms of child abuse and neglect in our state. And it was also National Cruelty Prevention Month of Animals. So the department, through a program that has been initiated called Pause for Kids, and information is also on our website about this, we are working collaboratively with the State Department of Agriculture on cross-reporting laws. And what that means is that we're working together as partners because there is a direct link between people who abuse animals and people who abuse children. So we're working together, and any report of animal abuse in the state of Connecticut is sent to our department so that we can cross-reference to see if we have an open case with that family and intervene in some way. So and Diana Urban was instrumental in getting this law passed. So it's an opportunity for our staff at DCF to have an outlet of someone to call to report if they see an animal in one of the homes that they're working with that's being abused or neglected. And then the State Department of Agriculture and the animal control officers, when they're out in the community and they're investigating or assessing animal cruelty, they're letting our department know so that we can cross-reference and see if there's a link between that family and the work that we're doing so that we can help keep animals safe and they're helping us keep children safe. So it's a great partnership that we're working very closely on. And I'm thrilled to be able to share that with your listeners.
That's awesome. I love to hear stuff like that, because animals belong to God too. So,
and you know that I'm just as fond of animals as you are. So having been with DCF for almost 30 years now, there was a time where you would go into a home and you would have concern over the treatment of an animal as you were doing your very best to keep a child safe. And it's very reassuring to know now that we have a number to call and we have a service and a state agency that's partnering with us on these cross-reporting laws. Pause for Kids also has another extension, which is animal-assisted intervention. So we have therapy animals that are working with our foster children, helping them become acclimated into their foster care placements. So there's really a kind of a two-arm approach to the work that Pause for Kids is doing.
And we know that this month, May, is National Foster Care Month. And even though with the COVID-19 going on, is there still a great need for foster parents out there?
Well, that number hasn't changed. There's over just about, I would say now, 4,000 children in out-of-home care in our state due to issues of abuse or neglect. And that number hasn't changed. And I just think that, during this pandemic, and it's such a surreal time and it's a merciless virus, and I just want your listeners to know that our work is continuing. I urge your listeners to call the 1-888-KID HERO line if they're interested in learning more.
Once again on the broadcast was Jacqueline Ford from the Department of Children and Families in Hartford, Connecticut. She's mostly in charge of the Heart Gallery. It's children looking for their forever homes. Also, May is National Foster Care Month. For more details about this broadcast, give us a call at 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff and management of a station. I'm Anissa Porticelli. The WIHS Journal is public affairs from WIHS, Middletown,